I hope, thank you. Please sit down if you have a seat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Jill Biden's husband, and I work for Cedric Richmond. And David Mack is taking me to school. Well, look, I know some of the other senators came over. They came up to see me. They're in session right now, and I thank them for making the effort. There's so many people here for me to say thank you, thank you, thank you. So I just spoke to our folks up in New Hampshire, and they did a good job. But I want to tell you, the people of Nevada are watching, and I want to make it clear we praise their diversity as a state, and I'm going to be out there seeing them very soon. Tonight, though, we just heard from the first 2 of 50 states, 2 of them. Not all the nation, not half the nation, not a quarter of the nation, not 10%, 2. Now, where I come from, that's the opening bell, not the closing bell. And the fight to end Donald Trump's presidency is just beginning, just beginning. Thank you. It is important that Iowa and Nevada have spoken, but look, we need to hear from Nevada and South Carolina and Super Tuesday states and beyond. And look, we're moving in an especially important phase because up till now, we haven't heard from the most committed constituency of the Democratic Party, the African-American community. And the fastest growing segment of society, the Latino community. I want you all to think of a number, 99.9%. That's the percentage of African-American voters who have not yet had a chance to vote in America. One more number, 99.8. That's the percent of Latino voters who haven't had a chance to vote. So when you hear all these pundits and experts, cable TV talkers talk about the race, tell them, it ain't over, man. We're just getting started. Our votes count too. We're not going to let anyone take this election away from you. Look, I've said many times, you can't be the Democratic nominee and you can't win a general election as Democrat unless you have overwhelming support from black and brown voters. It's just really simple. No, it's a natural fact. It's true. It's absolutely true. And folks, you know, all those Democrats who won against incumbents, from Jimmy Carter to a guy named Clinton to a guy named Obama, my good friend, guess what? They had overwhelming African-American support. Without it, nobody's ever won. No, really. And you all know you own my heart. Look, more important, should you not win the Democratic nomination for president, you shouldn't be able to win it without black and brown voters. Too often, your loyalty, your support, your commitment to this party have been taken for granted. I have never once in my career since I got involved as a kid taken it for granted. And I give you my word as a Biden, I never, ever, ever will. Now, if you want to know what any other candidates are going to do in the future, the tendency is to look at the past. Well, I left a law firm when I was a kid with a great job in a fancy law firm and to become a public defender, to fight for the people in the community I used to work in the East Side, because they couldn't afford a lawyer. On the county council, I fought against redlining. In the U.S. Senate, I passed the extension of the Voting Rights Act for 2 decades. The Violence Against Women Act. And by the way, I had the back of a great president named Barack Obama for 8 years. And by the way, we increased access to capital for African-American entrepreneurs. Let's get something straight. Given a chance, they do just as well as anybody else, and quite frankly, better, and they build neighborhoods. They build all communities. Barack and I were able to reduce the federal population, and speaking of HBCUs, I got $70 billion coming to HBCUs. Not a joke. And minority universities. Look, we saved the automobile industry. We passed Obamacare. We stopped insurance companies from discriminating against people with pre-existing conditions. And on top of all of that, we built an economy that Trump is bragging about. This guy squandered his father's fortune. Now he's squandering the economy we gave him. You all think I'm kidding. I'm not. So, Mr. President, Instead of talking about impeaching Barack Obama, you should be saying, thank you, President Obama. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But folks, look, we have so much more to do. I promise you, as your president, you will be partners at shaping the policy to make sure every single American has an opportunity. The thing that I've never liked, and I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for years, I don't know what you need best. I listen. You all, the leaders of the black community, know what you need best. We don't listen enough. We take for granted. You know what you need. You know what your families need. And I've never not listened to you. First, we need to defend and build on Obamacare. Trump wants to get rid of it. Even some of the folks in my own outfit in the primary.
There's Joe Biden ending his New Hampshire campaign.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.